Hello and welcome to the Client Attraction Matrix, the summit where we're sharing 28 ready to generate client strategies that are working right now. I'm your host, Louise Manza, and today we have the wonderful Liz Hamlet. Hi, Liz.
Hi, nice to see you.
Who is going to be talking all about the growth up level 3 strategies of high impact founders. Before we dive into all that good stuff, I'm just going to introduce you to her. So, Liz Hamlet is an internationally known business strategist, coach, and speaker. She's skilled at hearing the unsaid, uncovering the unacknowledged, and asking the tough questions to help you get clear on your big picture and the strategy conundrums for founders, entrepreneurs, and leaders. She skillfully joins the dots from where you are to where you want to be for more impact, growth, and revenue. I'm so excited that you're here, Liz, and I can't wait to hear what you're talking about. But before we dive into the growth up level, could you please just give us a brief intro into who you are and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so thanks for that fantastic intro. But yeah, I came from corporate. So I'm sure many people listening in today who are running their own businesses, I've always felt like a bit of an entrepreneurial mind in corporate, and I was always asking the sort of tricky questions and the sometimes unpopular questions to get to the bottom of the thorny issue. So yeah, I had an opportunity 6 to 7 years ago now to take a leap out of corporate, and I felt like that was the push I needed and always dreamt about running my own business. And yeah, that's when I took the leap and became a corporate SKP, as I call it. And that's how I'm doing all the fun, amazing stuff and working with fantastic founders and businesses now.
Amazing. Yeah, I can totally understand the push. I think there's not many of us that just like, oh, I'm just going to quit and just start my own thing. Like for me, I went on maternity leave, and that was the break that I needed to actually realize that I think it's time for me to do my own thing. And I think that's true for lots of us.
Yeah, definitely. And that's when all the fun starts.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is
And
true.
craziness.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about the growth up level. I'm going to pass the floor over to you, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to be talking
Brilliant. Yeah,
about.
thank you so much. So, yeah, this is basically a bit of a sneak peek into something I'm going to share with you at the end of the call with Louise. But this is the growth up level. So basically, how I see a lot of founders is working, they're doing fantastic things, but often they're struggling to sort of step out of the doing in the business to really take that like eagle eye view of the business, of the sort of long-term strategy, what things are coming up on the horizon, what opportunities and risks there are. So what I wanted to do was create something that gives you a bit of accountability, gives you a bit of structure and guidance to look at things more strategically, hence how the growth level was born. And I've worked with hundreds of founders and entrepreneurs, and I've identified 3 key strategies that I see in high impact founders that really help them to sort of scale strategically, to make better decisions, and to create lasting impact. So today, if you've got a pen and paper, grab it, have it near, because we're going to be doing some practical things. So let's get going. So I'd love to know whether any of these sound familiar or are keeping you awake at night. So the first one is the fear of running out of money. We probably all come from corporate jobs where you had a nice, reliable salary each month that was coming in, and then going over to running your own business. Often there's like peaks and troughs of income, and certain things are, keeping you awake at night. So the fear of money. So this is like that feeling, that sinking feeling in your tummy when you realize that perhaps payroll's due or there's a big invoice coming out, but cash flow is tight, and you're often like crossing your fingers, hoping for the best that the payment's going to go through. So one of the things that might be keeping you up at night. So the second one is that pressure of always needing more clients. So we all know that growth depends on more people, whether that's virtual customers or real customers coming through the door. But marketing can be expensive and competition's fierce. We've all going on social media. There's often a lot of clamour to get that attention. So, the fear that maybe your pipeline might be drying up is often something that keeps you awake. So the next one is about the overwhelm of scaling your business and scaling it without breaking anything. Often we've got big ambitions, but sometimes our systems hold us back, or things like break once we get, a bigger flow of customers coming through. So this is when we feel like perhaps things might be held together a little bit with sellotape in the business, and perhaps every new customer that comes in, that threatens to expose some of those cracks in the system. So that might be about thinking about how you actually scale your systems, and your sanity without those falling apart as well. So the next one is about staying ahead of the competition. So we all know that the market shifts at lightning speed now. There's new things coming through, new trends. Perhaps there's a new competitor that's come on the market. Maybe there's a tech change that's come in, AI, all of these different things. And it can change and make other things quite irrelevant almost overnight. So that pressure to feel like you're actually moving fast enough. So I don't know if any of those sound familiar. I'm sure at least one of them will be. So let's have a look at the strategies. I'm just going to move my bar out of the way here. Sorry. Yep. The 3 strategies of high impact founders. So this is what I'm seeing coming up time and again, that mean that founders can have high impact, and that's about scaling sustainably, as I said before, about making better, more confident decisions, and also having that lasting impact as well. So what's gone on here? I've got a pen. Sorry. So who am I, and why should you listen to me? So I am Liz Hamlet, and my background is in corporate leadership. I was in running a department of 100 staff just as when I last leapt out of corporate, and I've got board and non-exec experience, and what I love is that I've worked both in the private and the public sectors, so you see very different things coming out in those sectors. So that's housing, investment banking, travel, before I became an entrepreneur. And now I work with like tech founders, I work with learning companies, I work with companies that run coaching and counselling. I just love the variety. And I'm a leadership and exec coach, and also a certified business strategist. As you can see, I like keeping myself busy. So now what I love is the work I do with founders like you and entrepreneurs. So I'm very keen on the fact that there's no cookie cutter approach for everyone. So your growth and your scaling of your business is going to be very unique. It's going to be as unique as you are. So it's important you find the right one, and you're not feeling like you have to sort of copy what other founders are doing, what other businesses are doing. I'm very hot on visibility. I know Louise will be clapping her hands here. Getting visible in a way that suits you, and also leading your business feeling authentic and confident, that you can be yourself. You're not having to replicate someone else's model. Other things I do, boards and team away days, love the facilitation. And for my sins, I've founded with one of my fellow entrepreneurs a networking community for people that hate networking, which is called the Antisocial Socialites. So I'll give you some details on that if that sounds up your street. So let's dive in. Grab your pen and paper. So first, I want to look at a skill that every founder needs to master. So this is not just decision making, but effective decision making with impact, and you being able to make decisions confidently and quickly when you need to for your business. So why is decision making important? So every decision you make, whether it's to pursue a new opportunity, looking at pivoting the strategy, all of this is going to impact on your growth and direction of your business. So it's really easy to get bogged down in decision. And when you get in that space, that's when you feel stuck, and often you just freeze, you just can't move forward. That stuck feeling when it's scary, you've got big things that you need to decide, and you just get stuck. So I'm going to show you a 3-step strategy to enable you to make faster and more confident decisions. So the first one is grab your pen and paper. The first one is to define your outcome. So a lot of people go into decisions thinking about where they are now rather than what's the desired outcome that they want to get. What's the end, starting with that end in sight. So being really clear what you want to achieve. And if this decision goes well, what will that look like? What will the result be? What will I feel like as well? So the second one is identifying the top three factors that are going to actually impact your decision. So that might be if you're thinking about hiring, that might be about your budget, might be about the workload you've got coming up. Who do you need doing the work? How many people do you need? And it also might be about alignment of skills. And once you've got those factors, I want you to prioritize each of those factors to enable you to weigh up and support you in making that decision. And then finally, number three, I want you to evaluate the risk and rewards. Now, I'm sure you've all heard this, but this helps you to think about what have I got to gain if this plan goes well, if this decision goes well, but also what have I got to lose if this doesn't go right, and sort of balancing those things out, almost on a, pros and cons, risks and rewards list, taking the emotion out of it. I think that's when we get caught up, is when the emotion is tied up with that. So, if you want to jot these things down, take a quick picture of this to help you if you've got a decision coming up. Think about a decision you've got to make for your business now and apply those three elements. So the next one is about how you can leverage your strengths. I love this little picture. So this is all about, as a founder, you're wearing many hats, but how can you actually capitalize and prioritize the things that you do fantastically, your unique skills that are going to help you to drive the business faster and have more sustainable growth as well without burnout. That's really important. And that's what I call you've probably heard people talking about this as a zone of genius. So here's three simple steps that can leverage your strengths. So first one is really being able to identify in your skills. You might just want to start by listing all the things that you've done that create great results for your clients, or things that you do that feel really natural, that when you get in flow, you just can lose yourself in them. These are always a really good flag of where you're capable of making the most value as well. Now, the second one is actually assessing where your strengths impact growth the most. So not all strengths have equal impact. So thinking about, perhaps if your strength is having strategic vision, how's that going to help impact on your long-term planning to yield more results and perhaps, hopefully yield more income for your business. And spending time on that rather than the sort of day-to-day operations, that's perhaps not the best use of your time. And then finally, what can you outsource? We're all guilty of this sometimes, is doing things that's perhaps not the best use of our time, not the best ROI of our time. So, thinking about some areas that you might be able to outsource to enable you to focus on the big picture things. And the real magic happens. Where's that gone? The real magic happens is the intersection between the three. So, looking at what skills actually energize you and feel natural. What are the tasks that frequently, regularly reap rewards and the best results for you and your clients? And then where is the work that creates the most impact? And this in the middle is the area where you want to focus most of your time on to be a higher impact founder. And then finally, you can tell I like cats. They've come up in two of these pictures. I haven't got any of my cat, but there you go. I won't tell him. So number three is scaling for success. So this is looking about how we can bring together those other elements in to be able to scale. So this is about scaling and looking at that long-term success. So, often we get quite caught up in the moment and we're not necessarily looking forward. We're just sort of looking down at what's happening now. So, when we're growing in a manageable and sustainable way that feels aligned with our vision, that's when things feel in alignment. If we're not doing that, we might be keeping busy and thinking that we're making an impact, but it's a bit like wearing like too tight jeans. It just doesn't feel comfortable. We feel like we're faking it. We want to get into something that feels a bit more like us. So, the key here is thinking about how we sustain scaling and growth without burnout. So here I want to tell you about creating your scaling roadmap. So that is looking at, number one, looking at what parts of your business can be automated and documented for efficiency. All the time I'm going into businesses that are doing repeatable tasks that they've just got someone in the team repeating and repeating. They're not looking at how they could automate them, how they could make use of some of the fantastic tech, how they could document it. So if someone's on holiday, that can be done with ease. So thinking about things like your onboarding process with your clients, how you communicate with your clients, maybe content creation or other repeatable tasks and systems that you could put in place. So the second one is looking at what activities consistently drive the most growth. So, as I said before, with the strengths, not everything is equal. As with this, not all activities in your businesses are equal. So you're really looking at data to help look at what is moving the dial for your business, what's having an impact, what's a wasted time, where there's, perhaps you need to tweak things. And also about letting go of those lower impact tasks. We talked about delegating and outsourcing. So, not keeping hold of things because it's your business baby and you want to keep everything yourself. You're not going to be able to see the level of growth and scaling if you're keeping like that. And then finally, looking at who could you bring in to support you. So that might be about having a support network. That might be about working with collaborators, about freelancers, VAs, EAs, or perhaps just partners that you can sort of spread the load, and maybe someone that's got complementary strengths to you as well. So, thinking about where you want to spend the most time in your business and where's going to have the most impact without feeling like you're spreading yourself too thinly. So a question to you before we move on is thinking about, I've done a bit of a whistle stop tour. Obviously, we've got limited time, but thinking about those areas I've spoken about, the decision making, the scaling, where do you want to focus on for the next week, month for your business, and what might you want to let go of as well?
Amazing, Liz. Thank you. So I've been here making tons of notes.
Oh, good.
I loved it. Can I just ask you like a couple of questions following up
Of course.
on some of the things that you said? I want to talk about like the first point you said about kind of risk versus reward. Like that's a real kind of balancing act.
Yeah.
And what like obviously the most I've heard people say that like the most successful entrepreneurs and business owners are the ones who are comfortable with balancing like taking basically bigger risks. What's your perspective on that, like risk versus reward?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one because often, we're used to, even from childhood, like that sort of delayed gratification, like the marshmallow test with kids. And, as business owners as well, often we might be taking a risk and the reward might not happen for quite a while down the line. And that's difficult because, you're taking a risk now, it might be financially difficult, but actually the big stuff going to happen a little way down the line. It doesn't happen immediately. So I guess part of it's being comfortable with that sort of forecasting. Sometimes there's a bit of a lag in terms of the results. But I think also I always talk about this with my coaching clients, with my consultancy clients, is switching out the concept of failure, switching it, get rid of it. Failure doesn't exist. And replacing it with curiosity, one of my favorite words and values, and experimentation. So, testing things out and also having like what I call like low friction ideas. So you can test an idea, something that's not going to take a lot of time, not going to cost a lot of money, but you can test it out, see if there's the market, see if the clients like it, and then you can sort of go full bang once you've done that little test. But, like testing, tweaking and pivoting, I think with that curiosity mindset is going to be key. So I think, yeah, risk and reward, not being afraid to take some risks, but I think assessing them as well. We talked about the decision making, the weighing up, and being okay with like delayed gratification, delayed reward,
Yeah.
and curiosity, I think is really key.
Yeah, I love that. I think I was going to say something about risks and it's completely gone from my mind. That's so frustrating.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so my next question is about outsourcing, because that's something that people feel like, oh, like at what point do you outsource, and like
Yeah.
what do you think about when you're looking at outsourcing? Because for me personally, when I've looked at like outsourcing and getting help from other people, I have to be really clear on like the skills and knowledge that that person has in order for them to be able to do the job effectively. Because there's lots of people say, oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that, but actually not everyone can. But I'd love to hear what your perspective is on that, about kind of outsourcing and when to get that help.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because you are, when you've launched your own business, it's so close to your heart. But I think I think a few things, I think not being tied to like a role profile. If you are bringing someone in, whether that's like admin support or like EA or, systems or something, I think it's partly it is looking at the skills they have, but I think it's also really important that they match your values, that your work ethic, and also that you're bringing in someone that add something that you don't have, whether that's a skill area. It's not just doing something that you can do really well. It's actually, they love it. They will come with new ideas, so I think the values is key. But I think also as you see growth and scaling, often see, I mean, I work with like 7-figure businesses that they've got like MDs doing loads of admin. It just doesn't make sense. So, making sure as you grow that you're sort of reassessing at each stage, and it might not be now that you're ready for an EA, but maybe like in your planning and forecasting, you think that actually I'm launching a new program that's going to be in the run up to that. I'm going to need support with this, and thinking creatively. It's not always about bringing in like a admin support. It might be about collaborating, doing a joint venture, and you can both bring different things. Like my antisocial socialites community, I'm very different personality and the way I think to Yolanda, but we both bring amazing stuff together, and it just sort of makes magic because we challenge each other and we ask each other tough questions, which I wouldn't get if I'd found someone exactly the same as me. So I think it's about complementing, not just filling the sort of role profile, but actually getting someone that complements you as well, and doing that at the right time. Maybe now's not right, but planning for that with budget and what that looks like.
I love that. That is such a good point as well. And I love a collaboration. So anyone who's pro collaboration that's a tick in my box. I remember what I was going to say based on what your last answer was.
Oh, yes.
About failure. And there's the phrase I've heard is that you can't fail. You either get the result that you want or the lesson that you need. So
Lovely.
So whenever you're trying something, if it works, great. And if it doesn't, that's what you needed to learn. So
yes, that's perfect. Yeah, definitely.
Can you tell us, I'm really excited to hear about this, can you tell us about the gift that you've got for us today?
So you've had a very whistle stop, very speedy view of 3 growth strategies of high impact founders. But what this is a bit of a sneak peek of my growth level, which is my 5-day email video course. So it's a bit of accountability from me, a bit of structure, some daily you'll get a daily email with a little video from me with some information and some like a little exercise for you to go away and do then. That's not going to take you very long, but that's going to get you thinking more strategically, basically, about your growth, about your future of your business. So I'm offering with a discount code. So make sure you make a note of the code. You can also use a QR code here, which would take you through to the products, but put Summit25 in for 25% off the RRP, and this is valid until midnight on the 13th of April. And I promise that you will come away, this isn't just theory, you're going to come away with actionable strategy that you can start to use and maybe just shift the way you're thinking about your business growth and scaling. And it's a proven framework that I use and I've seen in a lot of high impact founders as well. So I hope this is going to help your businesses.
Thank you so much. Now go and check it out because I've had a look at it and it looks really good. So you can go and take a look at it at the link below. Thank you so much for today, Liz. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's always great to chat, big strategy, big picture with another fellow founder.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. So go and grab Liz's discount at the button below. And remember to check out the rest of today's videos and the rest of today's experts sharing their strategies on the client attraction matrix.